Okay, this is page 330 in your iReady math teaching book, which is your instruction book. We're going to go over this page together, 330 and then 331. And then you will work in your practice and problem solving book, which is the book that has the red border around it. You'll work pages 349 and 350 on your own. All right, let's look at 330. So we're understanding properties of shapes, and we're going to call these attributes. So I need you to really understand the word attribute. So what I told them in the classroom is that an attribute is like a rule. It's how you know that the shape I'm describing is a triangle. It's how you know the shape's a square. It's the things that the properties or the attributes that a shape has to have. So it says, think it through. How do sides and angles help you name shapes? Now remember, we did in our interactive notebook, we talked about different kinds of sides. The main focus that we need to know about our sides is we're going to be looking for parallel sides. On angles, we're going to be wanting to look for those right angles. Remember those angles that make that perfect square corner. You can count the sides. So one way to name shapes is by how many sides they have. Looking at this shape, what do you notice? Yeah, it has 1, 2, 3 sides. That's an attribute to this shape. You can also count the angles. How many angles does this shape have? Yeah, it has 3 angles as well. 1, 2, 3. So 3 sides, 3 angles. Those are attributes of this shape. A shape that has 3 sides and 3 angles, what name do we give this shape? Sure, it's a triangle. We know that all triangles have to have 3 sides and 3 angles. Think, there are other ways to describe the sides of shapes. Some shapes have sides with all different lengths. Do you see how we have every side is a different length? So the lengths of a side help us find out what kind of shape it is. That's another attribute. Some shapes have no sides. So this is not even a polygon. Remember, polygons have to have straight sides, and because this one doesn't have any sides, it has a different attribute. We know that's called a circle. Some shapes have 2 or more sides that are the same length. Do you see that A and B are exactly the same length, but C is not the same length? Sides A and B of the triangle at the right are the same length. Side C is a different length than side A and B. Shapes can have all sides that are same length. Do you see? What shape is this? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anybody remember what a 5-sided shape is called? It's a pentagon. And this pentagon, you'll notice every side is exactly the same length. That's another attribute. Shapes can have opposite sides that are the same length. Do you see that B and D are the same length? They're opposite sides. And then A and C are the same length. They're opposite sides. So these are just different attributes that you're going to be looking for when we start to name our shapes, our rules. And remember, attributes, a rule or a property that shape has. Let's go to page 331. What are other ways to describe the angles of shapes? Angles that look like corners of a square can be called square corners. We're going to also include that these are right angles. So what I would like for you to do is right here where it says square corners on your paper, I want you to write right, R-I-G-H-T, angle, A-N-G-L-E. Shapes can have all square corners or all right angles. Shapes can have some square corners or some right angles. You see that triangle has 1 right angle or square corner. A pentagon is a shape with 5 sides and 5 angles. This pentagon has 2 right angles or 2 square corners. You can see they're pointing to them here. Shapes can also have no right angles or no square corners. Now on our reflection, let's jot down a few things that we learned that you can do to describe shapes. So one way we can describe shapes is by the number of sides and angles it has. We're going to always count. That'll be our first thing to do, is count our sides and our angles. We also talked about how if any of the sides are the same or not. So we can also describe a shape by how many sides are the same length. And we can also describe them by how many right angles they have. Now your book is going to use the word square corners, but we want to be using the word right angles. So how many right angles it has. We're also going to talk about parallel. So I want us to add that as well. How many parallel sides it has. You may think of other things that a shape might have that helps us identify it. Okay, so after we've gone over page 330 and 331 in your instruction book, now I want you to get your practice book out, which has the red pages, and I want you to tear out page 349, and then the back of that, of course, is 350, and you're going to work this page on your own.